So we're back again to these raw videos, and today I feel like this is more of a vulnerable topic. Like I haven't talked about this to anybody or even on this channel, but I know this is relatable, and I know people want to change. People want to improve themselves and avoid doing this. And what I'm talking about is NoFap. I know back in 2020, 2021, even a little before that, NoFap has been a trending topic. There's a lot of YouTubers out there who talked about it, like Captain Sinbad. Let me think about what's his name? Jordan Green. Is it Jordan Green? Yeah, Jordan Green. Ice Cold JT. I don't know where he's at right now, but back in the day, those were the people I listened to about NoFap. And like I said, this is a vulnerable topic for me because I've never talked about it before. So if it gets a little awkward, that's my bad. Especially as a raw video where, although I have the bullet points that I want to talk about, some of the things I say may not be as clear as it should be. I just want to point that out. So when I started, or at least when I started fapping, back in the day, a lot of us men started back probably elementary school or middle school where, I'm sure you have that friend who's like, oh, check this out. Look at this. Have you ever seen this before? And and that's what started for me. I had a friend who talked about this a lot, and they were curious about it, of course, because kids are curious. And that just got me hooked. I started watching Corn, and things led to another thing. And honestly, when you're a kid back then, you don't really look at the consequences because one, you don't know the consequences, and you don't really feel it or feel the consequences until middle school or high school, when it's been years of just watching content, numbing yourself, to when you just start feeling numb and you honestly feel unfulfilled. Like I remember freshman year of high school where I thought it was normal because all of my friends were talking about it. But I knew that I struggled talking to girls. Like I wasn't good, always get rejected. I had that crappy Asian hair, I had acne, and I was not confident. I was that unconfident Asian kid who was just smart. Although I did play sports, I was just smart and just the type of person who no one wants to date, right? And it just sucked. I felt numb. I felt unfulfilled. Like every day or every morning, I just thought about Corn. I would go on Corn, probably fapping a lot. Like every day, maybe like 4 times a week, and I was just consumed by lust, and I was just unconfident too. Like I couldn't talk to women. I was always shy. I didn't know what to say. It's just embarrassing for me to talk about because I want to be this strong person for you guys to emulate. But hey, I hope this is at least relatable for you to know where I started from. And it took me a while until I realized that something just needed to change. Like I dated someone in sophomore year, and then COVID happened my junior year, and then after that I had a breakup. And that breakup was the turning point for me. That was a depressing time. Like that hurt. And I remember coming back. Well, first of all, we met in the park. We broke up. And then 2 hours later, I had to go to work, which wasn't busy because it was during COVID. And I spent probably most of my shift just looking out that window. And that was just a depressing time because I just came back home, ate dinner, and then binge watched Fire Force. Like that Fire Force intro is fire. I love it. It helped me through that hard time too. But I just remember it, like going back home, watching Fire Force, and then bawling my eyes out. And one of the reasons why that relationship blew itself up is because I was consumed by lust. And I don't want to blame corn, although it was a big influence on it. It destroyed that relationship because all my focus was on that. And then I talked about this on my video about how to desexualize your brain, but it destroyed my confidence. It destroyed relationships, and I don't want that to happen to you. So I started consuming self-development content like Ice Cold JT, Jordan Green, and that's when I learned about semen retention or NoFap. They're both different, but I started NoFap, and it's honestly, I'm sure you've practiced NoFap as well, and it's been like a rocky road. You go ups, there's downs. Sometimes you relapse. Sometimes you're able to not do it for a month or a couple of months. And in that time, I think there's a certain progression that everyone should follow. So what I did was I stopped watching corn. And in order to do so, I just stopped using my computer. And for me to curve those thoughts, I forced myself to oh no, think about something else. No, don't think about that. Don't think about women. I also, limited my feed and my social media to, because social media likes to put out suggestive content out there. So whenever I see it on my Instagram, I put on the do not show again or suggest less of this type of content so that I'm not tempted. I don't feel I saw something that I like that may have increased my lustfulness, right? So I got rid of corn. That was the biggest thing that you have to do. And then that's also the time that I started to be serious with track. I stopped playing basketball. I started to research more on track. I watched Fast University. I watched a bunch of sprinting videos or tips on how to do workouts, your form, training, nutrition. So this was also another time where I was focused on building something, focused on building myself to become fast. And that's honestly what helped me. So if you want tactics to swerve your lustfulness, your urges of fat, you should, 1, exercise. You need to expend that energy. I have high energy and I feel like I need to expend it on something. And sometimes that leads to fapping, right? But if you have a substitute like exercising, and for me, sprinting is a really big, hard exercise, pause, because it's sprinting. It's high intensity workouts. So that takes a lot of your CNS, and it's exhausting because you do 2 days where you have to run and then lift. So exercise allowed me to curve those urges, or the time to do those urges, because I was just tired after my workout. And I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. I don't have any lustful thoughts or any urges, so I just want to go to sleep. The next thing that a lot of YouTubers talk about is that you need to be out of the house or out of the environment in general, because if you are in your house 24/7, it's very easy to fap. But if you're outside, you're in a coffee shop, I don't think you would want to fap there. If you do, that'd be kind of weird. So next thing that sort of helped me initially was to think of a documentary crew is filming my life. Back in the day, I was like, oh, what if I just thought about a film crew who's just filming every second of my day? Whenever I wake up, eat, go to the bathroom, I always imagine someone filming me, filming everything I'm doing, which honestly is a little weird, but it gets you back on track, be straight, because you're like, oh, if someone's filming this, I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't showcase it to the world, right? Another thing that I did was I need to be busy, right? So if you don't have time to do something, then you won't do it. So if you don't have time to fap, you won't fap. Also, with being busy is that you get exhausted, you get tired. So back in the day, I'd say senior year, when I was like aggressively on self-development and on no fap, I had really busy days. I woke up early to do my workouts. I went to school or classes. I had another workout. I went to work. And then usually after that, I'm just dead. I'm like, oh, I just want to go to sleep. Like, that was my main focus after all those activities, is that I just wanted to sleep. So if you're busy, if you make yourself preoccupied, especially if it's stuff that is outside of your room or your house, you won't think about fapping, because all you want to think about is eating and sleeping. But with that, right, you need to remove the reminders, the reminders that bring up their urges, right? So those Instagram models who do OF or things like that, you need to remove those reminders from your feed, because if you see that, sometimes you're like, oh, that just sparks more energy because you have that sexual energy inside of you. So you need to remove those reminders, because if you're reminded about it, you'll get the urges and you do it. But if you're not reminded, if you're away from those temptations or those temptation reminders, right, you won't do it. The next thing, which I think, which is what helped me a lot, but a lot of people try to emphasize, I've been away from the NoFap movement for a while, just because I don't need it, is that you shouldn't count the days. I know a lot of people talk about, this is how you feel on day something. You should do this on day 0, day 1. You'll feel this at day 7, which is sort of true, but you shouldn't count the days. And this ties in with the reminder. For me, when I first started NoFap, it was like I was counting every day. I was like, okay, I started on this day. Today's day 1. Oh, today's day 2, day 3 of NoFap, NoFap, NoFap. But if you keep thinking about NoFap, if you keep thinking about the topic, then that's all you think about. Like when you when you tell yourself, oh, don't fap, you'll start to think about fapping, and then you'll start to think about the feelings that you get from it, which then you get the urges and the temptations. And that's what I'm trying to have you avoid. Don't count the days, just start it. Be busy, because when you're busy, you don't think about it, right? And yeah, these are the tactics that you can do to swerve it. And honestly, you need that discipline of NoFap, because if you don't have that self-control, if you can't control yourself from fapping, how can you control anything else in your life? This is, for me, this is the basic thing that men need to control. Their sexual urges, their temptations, their self-control. Like, how are you supposed to run a business if you can't control yourself, if you can't manage your own emotions, your feelings, your temptations, your urges? If you can't regulate yourself, how are you going to manage anything else? This is basics. If you want help with NoFap, I talk about it in my community down below. So if you don't want to stay stagnant, if you want to start improving your life, health, productivity, NoFap, dating, the community I made down below helps you. Currently, it's in pre-launch, but I hope to launch it at the end of January. Man, I love you, bro. I want you to improve, all right? Please, don't count the days. Use the tactics that I told you about. And be better than me. Start early. Don't start when you're past 18. Do it now. I love you, bro. Take care. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.